Welcome to the Meet RX Success Story podcast. I'm Tracy. I'm here today with my dear friend Debs. Hi, Debs.
Hi, Tracy. How you going?
Great. I'm so thankful and happy to know that you wanted to come and share your success story with so many. And I do thank you for coming to Meet RX's Success Story podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome. Can you begin by telling me what your life was like and your health conditions and your foods that you ate prior to coming to Carnivore?
All right. So I grew up between Australia and England. Born in England, spent time in Australia, back to England, back and forth over my teenage years and my early childhood years. And the food was pretty much the same. It's pretty stodgy food. And it's a lot of potatoes, a lot of rice, a lot of carbohydrate food. And I was always overweight, not terribly overweight at first, but everyone would tell me that it was puppy fat when I was a child and that I would grow out of it. And I truly think they believed that, you know. When I became a teenager, people stopped saying it was puppy fat and started saying that when I met a boy, I would want to lose the weight. So very subtly that onus shifted from it's puppy fat to it became my choice. And so I had noticed that, and I just never lost the weight at all. I did meet a few boys, but I didn't lose the weight at all. And my diet never changed because I think probably 15, 16, I probably went to my first like weight loss meeting sort of thing. And I started being told that it was my choice to hold extra weight, not by what I was eating, but by, I think it was like the late 90s, and people would start saying in the meetings, like, you're holding on to some sort of trauma and then your weight is sort of pushing people away. That's why you're overweight. Or then it became like you weren't following the portion sizes, and it just became this, this cycle that I would go into where I'd always have to be in a weight loss mindset. And so really early on, I developed polycystic ovarian syndrome and high blood pressure. And I was told the high blood pressure was a hereditary thing and I would never be able to fix that. But the food never changed. The food advice, the dietitian's advice, the weight loss group's advice in England and Australia was always eat 6 to 11 serves of carbohydrates and you know, meat and fat and everything else was like right at the top of that pyramid, like the tiny portions. And I could just never figure out why I was starving hungry all the time. Some people would be able to have like a sandwich or 2 slices of toast for breakfast, but me, it just wouldn't almost touch the sides. I'd just be hungry all the time. So the weight got more and more, despite me trying to lose weight, through all the different weight loss. I'm sure everyone out there has been on all the weight loss meetings and all of those programs and things. And just having very little success with it. So by the time I was in my mid to late 20s, I had developed type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure and just kept gaining weight. And the highest weights I got up to around that time were probably the 145 kilos, which I think is about the 300-pound mark. And then just, that was it. Yeah, so just a lot of, and also when you're raising a family, you've got the budget side of things as well. And carbohydrates are cheap, they are. And so it's easy to raise a family on that. And yeah, but there's no sort of, it's hard to get full on that or satiated on that.
So true. Yeah, that's so true. I know I used to bake cookies and stuff just to have extra food in the house, you know, because that's cheap. That's cheap.
Yeah, exactly. And people tell you, or like the advice out there is that it's healthy because you're making it homemade, you're making it from scratch. It's great. Right. But one is never enough. You know, I could never just have one cookie. But yeah, and I found myself, which is, sorry, sort of jumping ahead a bit, but what I thought was I always thought I wanted savory things. I actually managed to develop, this is going to sound a bit crazy, I actually managed to develop a potato chip addiction. I really needed potato chips every single day, and not a little bag, a family size bag. And became those unhealthy behaviors of hiding them from people, or when the kids were at school and I was a stay-at-home mum at the time, and people wouldn't know how much you could eat just to get full, just to eat something. What I discover now on this end of things is that I was actually almost addicted to the carbohydrate, certainly, but the sweet savory combination more than the savory combination. Savory, yeah.
Yeah, I understand that too. Mine was corn though, like tortilla chips, but I had to have them, bags of them.
Yeah.
So you have these health conditions. What did you do to start going down the path? Did you start out with carnivore, or did you try some other things first?
So in Australia, at the time when I was first diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, they wanted me to go for lap banding, which is the lap band they put around the stomach. So they put me, that's covered in Australia if you have diabetes, on the government list. So they put me on the waiting list for that, and which I didn't have. I turned that down. But they sent me to diabetic education classes, and they were teaching me. They gave me a glucometer the week before, and they said, and so I was using it like crazy to figure out what my blood sugar was doing. You know, I'm just that sort of a person. And so I figured out that when I would eat what they were telling me to eat, that my blood sugar would skyrocket. And so I went to this education class. It sounds very bad, education class though. And they were teaching me, the Australian Diabetes Association was teaching me how to make meals with brown rice and brown bread, because those were much healthier, and how to use a different type of potato because that was more healthy, and how to drink certain types of fruit juice, and you might want to put some water in it. And I went up to now I am a very mild-mannered person, I am, but I went up to the educator afterwards and I said to her, thanks for showing me how to make the brown bread sandwiches, but when I do this and I test my blood sugar levels, my blood sugar just skyrockets. And she said to me, oh, that's okay, we'll put you on insulin. And I went, in my head, I went back to the car. I actually called my husband in the car. I was so out. I was just so angry. And that actually started me on the path to low carb, because I went, no, there's got to be something else. You know, I didn't know much about insulin, but I knew I didn't want to be on insulin. And so I found low carb, and I had some success with that. That was in the early days of low carb, and a lot of internet stuff. And then I found keto, and I had some success with that over the years, but I could never sustain keto. I would have some success, and then it would become too hard, and I would get what I would call recipe paralysis, where I'd be looking at recipes and planning for hours. And it was just, then you would just spend hours in that space, and a lot of money on unusual ingredients sometimes, trying to recreate everything, and then wondering why my body was still fighting cravings and things. So that's how I did it. And then at the beginning of last year, I was overweight, diabetes was full blown, my high blood pressure was up, and I had for the last 3 years, I had chronic migraines. And so they're called cluster headaches, but they're actually migraines, and I would get 3 or 4 a week, and I'd have to go to the doctors or hospital to get an injection to stop the pain. So I had all of that going on, just very unhealthy, like the system was just turning on itself the whole time. And I was on medications, and then I discovered carnivore at the beginning, well, probably middle of last year, I discovered carnivore, and I discovered it through YouTube. So.
Oh, through YouTube. So you just saw some videos about carnivore then?
I saw Dr. Sivas. He's absolutely awesome. And the one video that actually, the one phrase that turned it around for me, because when I first heard about carnivore, I thought, this is insane. This is insane. You can't just eat meat. And so, but then these seem to be quite credible doctors, you know, Dr. Sivas, Dr. Berry, Dr. Baker, who didn't seem like they were selling anything. They had no vested interest in this. That was probably my first wake-up call. And then Dr. Sivas actually was talking about drinking water. And he said, when you're thirsty, you have a homeostatic mechanism that tells you you're thirsty. And so you drink water and then the thirst goes away. And he said, but when and so when you eat meat, the same thing will happen with your hunger and your cravings. And I thought, oh, okay. I thought the water thing still works for me. And in this video, he had actually said, you don't say I'm thirsty and I'm going to drink 4 glasses of water. You say I'm thirsty and you drink water until your thirst goes away. And I was like, well, yeah, that still works for me. If I'm thirsty, I drink water and the thirst goes away. So I'm going to try that with meat. So I dragged my poor husband into the lounge room and I made him watch these YouTube videos with me. And he doesn't remember this part of the conversation, but he actually said that, because was very overweight too. And he said, I was thinking of going vegan. And I was like, oh, okay, can we try this first? And then if this doesn't work, then we'll look at going vegan, because his brother and my sister-in-law are vegans. And so I only bought enough food for 3 days, because I wasn't sure that I could do this for more than 3 days. Because I think by the time you get there, you've tried so many diets and failed at them that your self-confidence is shot. You know, you don't want to take before photos because you've done that before 25 times. So I only bought enough meat for 3 days, and then June 12 will be 1 year. So it's stuck. But that's how I became educated about it. And I found on the website, I found a good doctor in Perth, who's a carnivore doctor. So I went and saw him as well.
Awesome. Oh, I love hearing that. So can you tell me, like, each one of your conditions, how it changed with your carnivore diet?
So I had chronic insomnia and chronic, the chronic headaches I was telling you about as well. And I'd had that for 3 years, and I was on a tablet for that would send me to sleep at 7 o'clock in the evening and wake me up at 7 o'clock in the morning. And then I was on pretty heavy painkillers for the migraines. I haven't had a migraine since I started carnivore, which I'd been struggling with that for 3 years and been losing time at work because of it, and losing family time. And the tablets made me really sun sensitive, and I live in Perth, Western Australia, which is like one of the sunniest places on earth. So you couldn't even go out for family things if they were outdoors, really. The type 2 diabetes I'd had for years at that stage. So I was on metformin and things for those. And I actually once took an injectable for type 2 diabetes, which put me in the hospital with acute pancreatitis. And in the hospital, the food for the diabetics was atrocious. It was just, hospital food for diabetes is a joke, really. I don't know what it's like in America, but in Australia, absolute joke. And so I had that. I had psoriasis, which disappeared as well. And I had like my fingernails and my toenails were chalky, and my fingernails were bendy and splitting, and now they're really strong. But yeah, my doctor had actually said to me, so when I first was diagnosed with diabetes, the thing then was the lap banding, but not my carnivore doctor now, but my previous doctor said, if you don't do something within 10 years, you'll be dead, because you've got the hypertension, the polycystic ovarian syndrome, the type 2 diabetes, like everything is just this perfect storm. And so they put me on the waiting list for gastric bypass surgery. And so I was scheduled twice for gastric bypass surgery, and I turned it down 2 times because I felt like that wasn't, for me, that wasn't the answer. So, and with carnivore diet, I am not on any medication. I have no psoriasis. My psoriasis disappeared within 3 months. My migraines disappeared. My cravings and my hunger disappeared within 48 hours. And I had my bloods drawn just a few months ago, and the type 2 diabetes is in remission, and the high blood pressure is normal, and I'm on no medications. So yeah.
That's incredible. I love hearing that. Great success. That is amazing.
Thank you.
And you've done all of this in less than a year.
Yes. So, and on top of that, and so the most visible part of all of that, because hypertension and type 2 diabetes and they're all pretty much invisible diseases, but I've also lost 77 pounds in that time. Wow. As well, which is incredible. And with that is the fact that I can move my body now. So, you know, I can get out and I can walk and I can lift, and I do go to the gym because I enjoy it. But I actually have energy and stamina through the day. So that's a huge change for me. You know, being in my mid to late 40s, this is the age where things are supposed to be getting harder, and you're not supposed to be, you know, doing those things. And I'm probably going that way, going up in those. So.
Oh, wow. Wow, Debs, you don't look like you're in your 40s. You look so much younger, and you look very healthy.
Oh, thank you, Tracy. You are top of my Christmas card list. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Well, it's been awesome listening to all your success. I know it will help many people. Do you have like a special tip that you can give anyone that you think that might help them if they're thinking about going this route? Do you have a best tip?
I think my best tip, the thing that I have found most helpful to me over the last year, is surrounding myself with support. And so it is kind of, at least where I live in Perth, it's hard to find other carnivores out there. In fact, my carnivore doctor was doing a diabetic talk about how to reverse diabetes. And I said I was happy to help. And he said, you can't mention carnivore because it might seem a bit extreme at first. But I think, you know, finding people on YouTube and podcasts and following the success stories that are posted to see that other people are on this path with you, this journey, having the same results. But also I'm learning more, like I listen to the Low Carb MD podcast as well and things like that. Hearing more from different doctors, you start to build a picture that this isn't just you on your own, and also joining certain Facebook groups and other groups, so that if you have a question or a query, you know, is this normal? This is happening to me, or has anyone else found this? Or even I see people posting like, I'm going away. How do I manage not being in my home environment and being able to control what I'm eating? What have other people done? And connecting with different doctors and things around the world, I actually find that that's been so supportive, because it's not like it's an echo chamber. It's actually being supported by doctors who are seeing it in their practices, people who are actually living it. And I found that one of the most helpful things really is just to, I don't want to say it's not a motivation thing, because this is not a diet, I think, where you need motivation, because the results are so dramatic and so life-changing. That in itself is why you want to do it. But I think sometimes there are genuine questions if people are traveling for work, or if they're going to a city that they don't know. Where can I eat? What should I do? And I think the more you live that lifestyle, the more you want to know why it works. And then you can tell people, not just I am a carnivore, but this is why. And yeah, so that would be my tip.
Oh, it's an awesome tip. So I want to ask you, what do you eat in a typical day? And do you have a favorite food, or do you just pretty much eat beef, or how does that work for you?
So over the year, I've fluctuated in what I did. I have, at nighttime, I have, oh, that sounds terrible. I have my food pyramid, which is a piece of steak, a piece of chicken, and a piece of bacon. It's my food pyramid there. And my Titanic special, which is iced water in a glass. So that's my dinner. I don't eat breakfast because I'm never hungry at breakfast time. And if I'm working, sometimes I won't eat until the evening. But sometimes, you know, when you're home or on the weekends or those times, if I want to eat, I will either have biltong, which is like jerky, but it's made without sugar. So I have biltong, or I have pulled pork, which I just stick in the crock pot, the slow cooker, and then I just add salt to it. I love that. So I tend to keep it pretty simple. If I'm out for dinner somewhere, which happens occasionally where you have to go somewhere, sometimes then I'll go to the dairy aspect of things. But I just try to keep it just really, really simple. Yeah.
Really simple. Okay, so you do eat a little bit of dairy, and do you drink coffee or any of that?
No, and I don't drink. I used to drink like, you know, the diet soft drinks. Not with carnivore. I stopped coffee, tea, And for an English person, stopping tea is just, it's in my DNA to drink tea. So I haven't drunk any of that. But the dairy is just mostly when we go out. So we go out, and now my friends all know that I'm carnivore, so I get first choice of all the meat that comes to the table. I'm very happy about that.
Oh, definitely. So what, do you just drink water? That's the only drink
Yes.
of a wise person. Yeah.
Yeah.
All wise people drink water.
If I want to push the boat out and get exciting, then I'll have some sparkling water. But otherwise, otherwise I just stick to regular water, and that's fine.
Cool. That sounds great. So I sure thank you for coming and sharing your story with us. It's really awesome. I love all these results that you found, and I think it'll be great for people to hear it.
Oh, thank you so much, Tracy. I really appreciate it.
Sure. Bye-bye.
Bye.